Hey guys, welcome back to another more serious episode. I'm here to give you an update on life and talk about another thing that I don't talk about enough, and I want to talk about more. So, as some of you know, I disappeared for like a week, randomly, didn't warn anybody. I disappeared off of Discord, disappeared off of YouTube. I just kind of withdrew from society. I'm alive. I'm alive and well, don't worry. In the Discord thing, just join the channel Discord, do it. I shouldn't have plugged that. This is a serious video, but, you know, you should do it anyways. But, yeah, I think I probably owe you guys an explanation. So, basically, I guess I disappeared, what would it be? Like Thursday, Friday-ish. I had stopped talking in Discord on like Tuesday or Wednesday. I was already kind of withdrawing. I don't know why, but my depression was at like a really, really bad point. I was at the lowest low I've been at, even when I was like full swing depression. For the past like week, I have had that issue, and I wasn't sure why until I like really started doing some self-reflection, songwriting, you know, all that. After doing a lot of self-reflection, I figured out it was because I wasn't being true to myself. You know, here's the update. I'm now non-binary, and I feel so much better ever since realizing and accepting that. I guess I knew for a while. I was kind of experimenting with the label Demi Boy, which is like half guy, half non-binary. But eventually, I realized that non-binary was the right way to go. I didn't feel like a guy. I didn't feel happy pretending to be like one. But that was one of the big things about it. The other thing, and it kind of directly relates to this, is I have seen an absurdly sad amount of homophobia online lately. And I know it's because, you know, there's these trolls out here that are like, haha, I'm behind a screen. I can say whatever I want. There's no repercussions. And unfortunately, that's true. But, like, I don't think they realize the statistics. The amount of people that see what they say and then soon after end their lives because of it, they take their own lives because of it. If they knew that, I don't think they'd be saying these things. And the thing is, a lot of it is dominated by religion. I see a lot of people, they're like, oh, you're going to go to hell. How dare you, you know, support the LGBTQ community? You know, you can only be a man or a woman. How dare you be interested in also both men and women and have a preference sometimes and sometimes not. That's a lot of what I see now. And so I'm like, what's the point though? Like, my thing is, I don't get trying to control who or what someone loves. Like, dude, controlling who someone loves is such a dumb thing. What does their love have to do with you? How does it affect you in your day-to-day life? Like, it genuinely just doesn't, and it doesn't make sense to me that people act like it does and try to dictate it. Like, oh, how dare a man love another man, or how dare someone, you know, not conform to male, female, you know, gender identity. The human mind is more complex than that. You can't limit the mind to what the body has to offer. We as humans are already ridiculously complex beings, mentally and physically. The mental side of things only gets more complex as time goes on, and, you know, we have developed to where we can figure out, like, what we feel, whether we feel like we can confine ourselves to two genders that, you know, are decided at birth by genitalia or whatever. You can't expect someone to just live by those rules. If they feel as though they were given, you know, the right body, they'll live in that body, but you can't make someone not be who they are. You can't make someone not love who they love. It's not something that they choose to do. You just live with it. You love it. You love who you love. You are who you are. And a lot of people lately that I've seen, due to religion especially, have been trying to control those things. So I see people that tell me and, you know, other people online that I interact with that are in the community, they're like, oh, well, you know, you're going to go to hell. You're going to live, you know, in eternal torment. But in my opinion, so let me sidetrack for a little bit. Tangent that we'll come back to here. When people say that God does not love you because you're gay, I have multiple arguments against that. These are the same people that claim God has planned everything out. He has a plan for absolutely everything, right? So how can you sin? If he has planned everything out, that means he has decided who they love. How is that a sin then? If he chose it. Beyond that, they say, oh, well, you know, God's an amazing person. You know, they always love and care about you unless you're gay. And I'm like, wasn't the entire lesson of Christ, love your neighbor as you love yourself? Don't discriminate. I mean, hell, Jesus lived in a time period where, you know, he lived in ancient Rome, right? And believe it or not, the ancient Romans were actually big on being gay. There were a lot of homosexuals that were allowed to be homosexual. You know, they were allowed to be public with it. They could get married. They could have, like, adopt kids, all sorts of things that in the time period Jesus lived in, those were happening. So the fact that people can say, you know, oh, well, you know, God doesn't love you, he's all-powerful and doesn't like this plan. Now, here's what I'm saying about that, the God is all-powerful thing. When you say God is all-powerful, right, I want you to take a look at the current state of this world. Alright, it's a crappy world. Everyone agrees on it. It is an awful world to live in. Now, why is it that people of, like a lot of Christians will say God is all-powerful and he is the most good, pure being? With the current state of the world, there are only two sides to that. Either they're correct, he is all-powerful, but he is an awful person, because, you know, why would you want the world to be like this? How are you okay with letting people live in a world like this? So either he is all-powerful and bad, or he is good. They're correct, he's good, but he's powerless. There is no in-between in the current state of this world. And my bet is, based on their stories, it's the first one. If God is real, if, this is a giant if, I do not believe in the slightest, there's no evidence. But, say he just so happened to actually be real. How is he a good person? Take, for example, the story of Noah's Ark. Killed the entire world. How are you okay with mass genocide of all of humanity and still call yourself a good person? What? That's not how that works. So, as I'm saying, you know, religion has been a lot of where I've seen the homophobia. But beyond that, there's a lot of just closed-minded people that don't understand, you know, that the way people love and the way people identify does not affect you. I saw a poll the other day on YouTube, and it was like, well, if someone asks you to address them by their preferred pronouns, would you do it? And a lot of people in the comments were like, no, I don't encourage mental illness. It's not mental illness, it is mental awareness. What? Do you know how much it takes to be so aware of yourself that you know you don't you don't conform between just two genders, to know, or even to know that you are trans or something? It takes a lot of mental awareness, self-awareness, self-reflection. That is not mental illness. To call it mental illness... Alright, I'm gonna get controversial here. If saying, you know, okay, so here's what a lot of their argument is. There is only physical evidence of two genders, and the rest is just feeling, right? Alright, now let me go back to religion. Where's the physical evidence? It's all feelings. Right? And I've had this argument before, and someone goes, oh, well, the physical evidence is the Bible. That is a collection of feelings. That is a collection of feelings that a bunch of people have felt and identified each other with. Guess what else is a collection of feeling that a bunch of people have felt and identified with? The entirety of the LGBTQ community. How can you say that that isn't true because there's no physical proof, when religion is based on the same concept, a feeling that a lot of people have felt together? Anyways, yeah, that bothers me. But back to the other thing with the poll. Why not address someone by their preferred pronouns? Someone said, oh, well, you're taught from a young age how this works. Okay, but you know how to use, for example, for me, non-binary, they, them, you know how they, them pronouns work. Just pretend I'm more than one person. It's not difficult. Or, if you don't want to pretend I'm more than one person, then just don't talk about the person. There's no need to misgender them, because if you do, that can lead to major mental health issues, to major, like, depression and a lot of suicidal thoughts. Why on earth would you tell someone that who they are isn't true and that they're mentally ill because they feel a way? That is one of the biggest reasons that so much of the youth is depressed and suicidal, and so many have taken their lives, is because there are people like that. Beyond that, there are people that are like, oh, well, you know, you can't love this, this, and this because, you know, it's wrong against God's will. Pick one. If God is all-powerful, then He made them to be who they are. I hate that I keep going back to religion, but, like, that in my mind is one of the biggest sources of it. A lot of homophobia, don't get me wrong, is because people were raised in a very traditional way. But that is because they were raised by religious parents that were taught from when they were a child these ideals that cannot keep living on. They just can't. And so you look at the world as a whole and you see the homophobes, and it can be traced back to religion. Now, in my opinion, religion is a beautiful thing, right? I do not hate religion, because it is, you know, a wonderful thing. The people that don't want to turn to, you know, science or whatever, they don't identify with those answers. They don't feel as though those answers are what they're searching for. They can believe in what they want to believe in, and they can find comfort in that belief. That is a beautiful thing. The comfort that comes from being a part of a religion is unmatched, I'm sure. I'm non-religious, I wouldn't know, but, like, that, to me, I can imagine it's the same comfort that science brings me. But why is it that religion can dictate other people? Why is it that just because you believe in something, they have to believe in it and they have to follow your rule set? That doesn't make sense. People live their own lives, not yours. So, like, why try? And again, I love the concept of religion. I don't think it's been executed well recently. It used to be. Christianity, honestly, I think it started out in a beautiful way. People have found, you know, remnants of old Bibles. The amount of translations of the Bible that have been, you know, that have changed these things just because one person didn't, you know, like it. I believe it was King James who decided on one of the more recent, like, the most used Bible. He is the one that made it to where, you know, it's a sin to be gay or whatever. He's the one that made it to where that is how it identifies. But it just doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, yeah, that's just my little rant. I've been seeing a lot of homophobia and stuff around lately, and I'm kind of sick of it, so I figured I would rant about it a little, talk about it, just, I don't know, give you guys an update on life too. So, if you enjoy, subscribe. I don't know. See you in the next one.